What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it? Friday night? Must be the Friday night Radio Baloney Live. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. Sorry that we're a few minutes behind schedule. We had a bit of trouble getting the stream started for some reason. I don't know. Something in Rumble Studio. I don't know. But here we are. For some reason, it did not go through to X and locals. So it's just Rumble and YouTube tonight. So for some reason, I don't know. It just told me that didn't happen. Whatever. It doesn't matter. We're all cool. We're all cool here, right? Everybody's cool. All right. We got Izzy, Rosie, Spambot, Trudeau Survivor. We got Steve and Brian over on YouTube in the chat already. Good to see you guys. Okay, let's go to the menu. We'll see what stories we're going to be covering tonight, and then we'll go back to the chat, and then we'll come back and deal with these stories in detail. So you got a base CEO here just letting go of his entire HR staff because they created problems that didn't exist. Modern HR, wow, creating problems that didn't exist before. We'll take a look at this. Let's see. Tulsi Gabbard has resigned from DNI. Tulsi Gabbard has resigned from being the DNI, and it's because her husband has bone cancer. So, yeah, I mean, there's some things going around about how maybe Trump wasn't happy with the husband's got bone cancer. I think that pretty much covers it. EU. The EU has awarded the European Order of Merit. What? From Daily Romania, the EU has awarded the European Order of Merit to Angela Merkel for her promotion and defense of European values. Whoa. That's interesting. Is that what she was doing? By turning 30% of her country not European? Wow. There seems to be a lot of values there now that in Germany that you wouldn't really consider. Well, you wouldn't have considered German values, certainly. But yeah, I mean, it's just this weird, delusional, like driving the European train off a cliff. Bizarre. We'll get into that. Some of the ways that she's defended European values. Boy, oh boy. We're going to take a look at Alberta independence. Seems to have hit a bit of a snag. Of course, we're going to do the mainstream media's coverage of it, which is freaking appalling. But we'll get into this. There's a bit of a snag. I don't think Alberta independence is dead by any means, but we'll get into what's happening with that. Canadians are getting sick and tired of activists demanding that our heritage be washed away, especially when they got here like 5 minutes ago. We've got a story of that and how, it's kind of like one of those, well, just fucking leave then. It's one of those things. Let's see. Oh, yes. Large online streaming services must contribute 15% of Canadian revenues to Canadian content. The federal broadcast regulator, the CRTC, said Thursday. So the Online Streaming Act strikes again. And all this stuff has ramifications, serious ramifications, especially with trade negotiations, Kuzma with the states. It's just more insanity. We are going to talk about that. I've said before, Carney is just Turbo Trudeau. Like, where do you think Trudeau got like ideas for all his ideas for like the Online News Act and the Online Streaming Act? He got them from Carney. Carney was basically his mentor. Turbo Trudeau, I say. Mark Carney, net zero. So here he's laying it out. We're going to take a look at this. Take a look at this video here. He just lays out basically why nothing is going to get done except for public money shoveled into net zero projects that he's connected to through subsidies. He's just laying it out now. Just like, yeah, nothing's going to get done. Don't worry. The stuff the stuff that he wants to get done is going to get done. Nothing else. Nothing else. A lot of people are going to make a lot of money. We're going to go into that in a little bit of detail. And I'll show you why I say that. Here you have Canadian media bias here. 14 Liberal MPs write a letter critical of Carney. CBC gets it and then says that they're not going to reveal anybody's names because, well, that would be embarrassing for the Liberal Party, and not going to do that, are they? Let's see. What do we got here? Gender ideology. Here's an AI thing about the podium, which is I think it's actually like they're actually doing this now, aren't they? Where they like have a male and a female, male and a female podium, like space for a man and a woman for women's sports now. Pretty crazy, if you ask me. What's going on here?
So last week,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Telegraph.
So the Telegraph, we're going to take a look at this article here. The far right has a new weapon. Glamorous young women. It's even more terrifying before. Even more terrifying before. We're going to take a look at this article, who wrote it, and all the bullshit surrounding this. We've got a video from Pierre Poilievre here, and here he's talking about outrunning the bear, and this is the sort of stuff Pierre has to keep doing. Just keep doing this. Anything that has a chance of getting those eyes that aren't watching the CBC, that their brains aren't plugged directly into the CBC, you have to keep doing it. He's fighting a machine here, a liberal machine in Canada, which is obviously the Liberal Party, it's the judiciary, it's the media, it's academia, it's every institution, always negatively framing anything that is not, I guess, libtard. Did we say libtard? Libtard. What do we have here? Oh, yeah, so more news on that insane so-called prank show that was funded by the CBC, where they brought in American, literally far left extremists, okay, to prank like retired RCMP officers and like academics. Like it's totally insane. Look, here's an article here from Juno News saying that the RCMP is engaging a legal team over this. Are they going to get sued? I think the CBC should be getting sued, and I think people should lose their jobs over it. What do we have here? So here's the last tab of the evening, which is a bunch of stuff, and it's always good fun. And it's like animals, and it's like palate cleansers, and then funny stuff, but also some politics too. All kinds of crazy stuff. Everybody's going to love it. All right. Now, for those watching on YouTube, please go and subscribe to my second channel. It's like, I don't know, 8-9 months old, something like that now. This is where all the clip videos go. All those clips that I carefully edit to make them more digestible and easier to watch and just more clear and concise, basically. They all go here now. The channel you're watching right now is only for live streams now. This channel was going great. It was just roaring towards getting monetized. And then suddenly YouTube decided to cut off my views by like 95%. So now my typical video I put on there can count on getting, I don't know, 30, 50 impressions worldwide, because all of a sudden YouTube decided that nobody should see my videos anymore. So it's really up to you guys. Either you guys go and subscribe, or just nobody will see my videos. Subscribe, share the content, do the hypes or whatever that new thing is. Otherwise, it's just dead in the water. All right. Like, it was on pace to get fully monetized within a couple of months. Now, if it stays like this, years, 10 years, 30, 50, I don't know. I don't know what YouTube's plan for me is, but it's just up to now just people going and just doing it on their own. So I thank you if you go and subscribe there. If you don't, literally nobody is going to see my content, because YouTube wants it that way, because they are commies, dirty, filthy commies. That's right. Now what are we doing? So everybody knows that we're streaming on Rumble and YouTube right now. Unfortunately, not X and Locals right now, because for some reason that failed when we went live. I have no idea why, but it's too late now. But everybody knows we're streaming on Rumble and YouTube right now. And when you like the stream, you get good karma. But when you like the stream early, you get extra good karma, like so much, like a lot, like more than even probably you're even comfortable with, quite frankly. Izzy got the first like over on Rumble. It looks like that's 6 good karma. Boom. That's going to last him a few days. No worries for a few days. How you doing, Izzy? Rosie got like number 3, so that would be 4 good karmas. Wow, that's still a lot. Spambot, how you doing, Spambot? Got like number 4. So that's like 2 good karmas. Wow, that's still really impressive. Let's see. Rosie, how you doing? Spambot, how you doing? Trudeau Survivor, only number 3. Rose, he says, Rosie, you're slipping. You're slipping. Yep. Wake up. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor got like number 2. That's 5 good karmas right there, people. Imagine putting that in your pocket. Nothing to worry about. No worries. What else you guys talking about? Spambot says, sorry for flooding your DM inbox on X earlier. Don't worry, I totally ignored it. No, I got some stuff, but I couldn't get all of it. It was too much. I'm glad you're aware of that. I'm glad you're aware that it was too much. But I did get some valuable stuff for the audience. I think they'll be very happy. Let's see. Rosie says, your third stream in 24 that I've seen has issues beginning the stream. It might not be you. It's the Rumble Studio. Right, there's still kinks getting worked out and stuff. Like as much as Rumble has grown and how what a great job they've done. Yeah, they don't have Google money still, right? So it's just going to happen. It's okay. I don't mind. Spambot says, I hope Netflix, Facebook, and YouTube withdraw from Canada. Well, if there's anything that could get Canadians to dislike Mark Carney, that's probably it. Taking away their American entertainment. I think that might be the thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, sure, their elbows up, but not when you're taking away, I don't know, at Stranger Things. No, they like that. Let's see. Brian Watson's a lot of things against Carney today. Royal Canadian Legion mad as hell against him and Mark Millard. You're very right about that. I saw that, Brian Watson. Steve Tollison got number 2 on YouTube. That's 5 good karmas right there, Steve. Boom. 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 All right. Now what are we talking about? Spambot says, I hope the RCMP drops the gloves on Liberal Party along with the CBC. Well, as far as I'm concerned now, the CBC is actually totally unredeemable. So they have to be defunded at this point. They can still exist if they can, survive on their own. I don't think they'd be able to do that because I think that, I think that they get more viewers at election time, get sucked into their political, their liberal black hole. But in terms of, ad sales, they're not going to be able to survive. Not like they are right now, that's for sure. Let's see. Disney 2, Spambot says, and ban it from ever being shown in Canada ever again. The elbows up people are going to have a tough time with that, though. They're really going to struggle without their Disney. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm fine with banning Disney, quite frankly. Get rid of that garbage. But, again, the elbows uppers are going to have if there's anything that will wake them up, it'll be taking away their precious, Disney Plus shows, I guess. Taking away Stranger Things from them. All right. Let me have a sip of ranch juice. Oh, yeah. That's good. Fight with Memes posted this. HR department exists for one reason, to perpetuate the HR department. That's 100% true. You want to know why a country like Canada is so screwed up right now? Because the Liberal Party since 2015 has increased the bureaucracy by 40%. The government bureaucracy. The government by 40%, right? Just creating huge new bureaucracies that essentially do just literally exist to perpetuate themselves, to grow, to become more powerful, to waste more money, to become more of a hindrance to everything else that's not in the public sector. But here's a base CEO, and he says, here's a base CEO, and what happened here? Bolt CEO says he let go of his entire HR team for creating problems that didn't exist. Those problems disappeared when I let them go. So there were people with useless jobs whose job it was to just justify their job. And turns out they didn't need them. Huh, isn't that crazy? Well, let's take a look here from the New York Post. Bolt CEO fires entire HR team, blames them for creating non-existent problems. What, like what is it called? Implicit bias, that kind of nonsense. The 31-year-old CEO of historically troubled fintech company Bolt Financial revealed this week that he fired his entire HR department as part of a 30% reduction in headcount earlier this year. I wonder if they could have gone more. I mean, Elon Musk can 80% of staff, and it ended up being better. Now, surely he would have rehired some people back after that, but made sure that he got useful people in useful jobs. Ryan Breslau made the admission on Tuesday at Fortune's Workforce Innovation Summit, where he blamed the downsizing in part on an inept, lazy, and entitled staff. Maybe they were mad because they weren't getting, maybe he didn't have like the full like kitchen with stir fry and cappuccino makers and like a free bar or something like it they have at the Google, I think, or Facebook. We had an HR team, and that HR team was creating problems that didn't exist. The CEO, who once described Silicon Valley as a boys' club full of mob bosses, said at the summit. So he's getting real now. And what are some of the problems? It doesn't state them really in here, but I think we know, like, what are HR divisions obsessed with these days? What are they known for these days? Well, it's coming up with ways to divide the staff and make the staff distrust each other and be suspicious of each other for identity reasons, right? Like pretending that there's, I don't know, like maybe racism where there isn't any. Again, implicit bias, that kind of gibberish. Quote, those problems disappeared when I let them go. So they were paying troublemakers to cause trouble, and they fired the troublemakers, and the trouble went away. That does make sense. Breslau reportedly told his employees that going forward, Bolt will be operating as a much leaner organization and leveraging AI at our core. He framed the move as a regression from a larger company back to startup mode. Well, the company had been suffering badly, right? It was maybe even going out of business. Well, we need a group of people who are very oriented around getting things done. And there is just a culture of not getting things done and complaining a lot. Wow, that sounds a lot like what Elon Musk was saying, what he was so criticized for saying. But it turns out it actually does make sense. Don't have a bunch of useless people that you're paying to make things worse. Breslau further asserted that a culture of laziness and entitlement had grown across the company in his absence from January 31st, 2022 to March 2025. And then he returned, and then this is what happened. Speaking on the alleged delinquents, he said, ultimately, most of those people just had to be let go. We have a team a quarter of the size who are much more junior, who work a lot harder, who have better energy. This is exactly what Elon Musk was saying, right? And what Elon Musk was so criticized over. But it turns out it's just something that works. And our customers are telling us we haven't had this type of attention in 4 years. So I guess maybe the culture, even in Silicon Valley, is kind of going back to let's just innovate and get stuff done. Like, let's be cowboys again, right? Let's like work hard. Let's not be like, I don't know, let's not pretend that we're some sort of like socialist colony or something. Let's not pretend we're like some socialist collective farm or something. Let's get real. Now, there are a lot of cases of employees just going nuts, and I think being confused about what their role really is and just how important they really are. I'm talking about activist employees. CNN Business, this was from 2024. Google has fired 50 employees after protests over Israel cloud deal, organizers say. Google has fired an additional 20 workers that it says were involved in protests last week over the company's cloud computing contract with the Israeli government, bringing the total number of workers fired to 50, according to the group organizing the demonstrations. Now, I'm pretty sure it wasn't in any contract that these people were going to work at Google to be activists, right? And whatever you think of Israel, of providing cloud computing contracts, who gives a shit? It's none of your damn business, right? Yeah, I mean, am I a huge Google fan? Obviously not, right? But, right? If you just want to turn every position at every company in your country into just an activist or like half worker, half activist, you're going to very quickly live in a very poor country where everything is a failure and nothing gets done and is extremely dysfunctional. The no tech for apartheid, blah, blah, blah. Shut up, you got fired. Said in a statement Monday evening that Google had fired an additional 20 workers on top of the 30 workers terminated last week. And again, I'm no fan of Google at all, actually, but good. They finally did something good. Netflix employees stage walkout over Dave Chappelle's special. Now, is that part of the contract anybody signed joining Netflix? Was that part of the orientation where Netflix says, now the most important thing you're going to do is let us know what you think other people should be able to watch based on your politics and your emotions? I'm pretty sure not, right? Hundreds of Netflix employees walked out of work in protest of the streaming platform's controversial Dave Chappelle special. The workers, who are organized by Team Trans, believe the special is transphobic and are calling for Netflix to commit to releasing more intersectional content. Well, they wanted that taken down, is what they wanted. And they wanted to be able to tell Netflix customers what they could watch based on their own personal politics for some reason. Protesters streamed from the company's Sunset Boulevard building around 10 a.m. Wednesday, where they held a rally to underscore the importance of responsible content. None of your goddamn business. Do I like Netflix? No. But I just don't think you can have a society where everybody thinks half their job is to be an activist. It's just not going to work. Dave Chappelle doesn't get to suck the joy out of this moment. Well, he does, actually. And he did. For you. Right? Other people found joy in the jokes. In fact, the vast majority of people like the special, like the jokes. So shut up. I wonder if these people got fired. Hold on a second. Probably should have done this before I started the stream. So Netflix did fire an employee organizer who spearheaded a company-wide walkout in solidarity with trans workers, citing an unauthorized data leak that revealed sensitive internal metrics. They fired one person? Jesus. Try harder, Netflix. Try harder. Be more like Bolt CEO, who just says, yeah, we don't need HR. Nah, it's actually just it's a total waste of money and totally counterproductive. Be like that guy. All right, let's go to the chat for a second. Let me get rid of these things. Then we got another thing we got to do. Hold on. It's hot in here. It's hot in here. I can't have the air conditioner going while I'm doing this because it'd be too noisy. But it's hot in here, people. How long can I take it? What are you guys talking about? Rosie says, without HR, some must speak for themselves. Example, Radio Baloney chat. When someone suggests women should not be allowed to vote, some answer must be loud enough to earn a damn it all by themselves. Well, that's true. But no HR department at Radio Baloney. Sorry. Anybody who tries to start up an HR department, fired. Immediately fired. Collect your things. Dave, Pam, how you doing? Netflix was getting way too woke, so I stopped watching it a while ago. Just not worth my time. Yeah, it is awfully woke, isn't it? Izzy says, hey, evening all. Sadly, I'm busy on site doing a network customer to new server, so listening but not really watching chat. Well, it's good to know you're out there lurking. Let's see. Rosie says, you need a mic with voice isolation if you do not have one. All right. Oh, thanks, smarty pants. Thanks. I'm not doing that. What the hell? You know me. Are you just trying to piss me off now? You know I'm not doing any of this. I got a mic. It works fine enough. I'm just going to sweat. It's just easier for me this way. That's actually less stressful for me than finding a mic with voice. What the hell? Probably this mic probably has it. I don't know. And probably if I ran the air conditioning, you probably still wouldn't be able to hear it anyway, but whatever. I don't know. Whatever. I don't like new things. Don't like that. I don't like change. But anyway, thank you for the advice. All right. Look at this. Chelsea Handler. So for some reason, Chelsea Handler is doing the meme. She's doing the stereotype of the white liberal woman who is being offended for all of mankind. Everybody, for all of the oppressed peoples around the world. And she's doing it over a roast, right? The roast of Kevin Hart. And these roasts are just all out, no holds barred. Everybody knows that. There is nothing off the table. Nothing is too offensive. That's the nature of them. She gets invited to it. She does her thing there. And then afterwards, she's offended. There were racist jokes that Kevin Hart himself was laughing at. And all the other black people on the stage were laughing at. And by the way, these roasts are full of racist jokes about everybody. Doesn't matter who you are, white, black, Latino, Asian, it doesn't matter. That's just par for the course. But she has to virtue signal. She is so parasitized by the mind virus, right? That I think she is so parasitized by the mind virus, she probably doesn't even have free will anymore or any agency. It's just, she's just doing what the mind virus, what the idea pathogen demands that she do. And it's this, and it's embarrassing. Let's see, who posted this? Killer Crew. Chelsea Handler goes off on Tony Hinchcliffe. Chelsea Handler goes off on Tony Hinchcliffe and Shane Gillis for making a racist jokes at the Kevin Hart roast and claims white people should not be joking about black people in that kind of way since it's, oh, God. At a roast. I mean, if you've watched, I can't play any clips of the roast because copyright reasons, but if you've watched it, it's on I think Netflix. It's just all out. I mean, it's no hold bars. It's just everybody takes it, right? Everybody gets mocked. Not good enough for Chelsea Handler. Let's see what she has to say.
I don't have a lot.
And by the way, this is all very I don't know, 2018 at this point, isn't it?
I don't have a lot of, I'm 51. So I'm pretty secure with who I am.
Yeah.
I don't care if these guys say that I'm a whore. Mm-hmm. I'm doing exactly what they're doing, except I'm a woman and not allowed to.
And that's real.
Yeah, I'm rich.
It's a roast. They make fun of everybody. She made fun of them.
I'm famous and I'm hot. So I'm fucking people.
You're supposed to. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to.
Rich and famous and hot, she says. Hot. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Oh, sure, Chelsea. Go on. You go on.
Continue to keep doing that as long as, I remain as fuckable as I am. So I don't really see the problem.
Yeah, no. And
is she aware of the fact that men at 2 a.m. on a Friday night will fuck anything. She aware of that? There are men often have women they will go and visit when there's no other sex available, right? And they know it's easy and they'll just do it. But is she aware of this? Is she aware of that, maybe what's happening to her is actually kind of degrading and actually not empowering? I don't know.
As fuckable as I am. So I don't really see the problem.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of other women should feel the same way out there, especially women that I run into.
Yeah, whether
That's right. Be whores. Listen to this guy. Be whore. Listen to men when they tell you to be whores, right? Nothing in it for men at all.
you're famous, whether you're famous or rich, those don't apply. But like the idea that, like, what were they going to say about me? They couldn't say anything other than that I'm a whore or my age. I think that was the other thing that they went in. And you're like, well, okay, those aren't jokes. That's not.
How do you not expect them to make these jokes? It's a roast. Has she never seen a roast before? I'm sure she's done them before. I mean, this is just baffling to me.
Not clever writing. And I knew they would be lazy because they do that for a living. And I knew enough about like Tony Hinchcliffe and Shane and their backgrounds. I had ex-girlfriends blowing up my DMs that had dated Shane and were telling me stuff about him. So based on that, I was like, oh, these guys are pretty bad.
So you had something on him that you could have tell us now. What shit Shane?
It's just everything we know, that they're racist, that they're bigots, that they're sexist, that.
Oh, God. There was one thing. Oh, I should have had this before too. Sorry, you guys. I always do this. There's always stuff I forgot. Let's see. Hold on. Shane Gillis responds to Chelsea Handler. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. All right. So Shane Gillis responded to this. Let's take a look. After Chelsea Handler raged at fellow comedian Shane Gillis for his jokes at the Kevin Hart roast, Gillis shrugged them off and sarcastically wished Handler all the best. Well, what did he say? He said, "This is a big moment for Chelsea. I'm glad she's capitalizing. Good for her. We're all rooting for her. Anyway, come see me on July 17th at the football stadium in Philly." That's how you handle it. This is a big moment for Chelsea. I'm glad she's capitalizing. We're all rooting for her. Anyway, come see me July 17th at the football stadium in Philly. Yes, it's because he's much, much, much more popular than Chelsea Handler. Chelsea Handler wishes she could have Shane Gillis's career. Why is she even known? Like, why does anybody even know her name? I'm asking. I'm not being facetious. Like, I don't know why anybody knows who she is. I guess she's supposed to be a comedian, I guess. Hold on. All right. So Winston Marshall wrote, "Not many women have had a more insidious influence on American culture than Chelsea Handler, advocating for abortions and promoting childlessness. Sickening and depressing." That really is like, that's the hill you're gonna die. Like, that's what you're gonna be proud of on your deathbed, is that you tried to convince women, or you convinced women to like kill their children, to not have families, to die alone, like her. Like, it just seems such a weird thing. Why would you be proud of that? Right? It is sickening and depressing. Hold on. By comparison, few people in American showbiz have given more opportunities to talent of all backgrounds than Tony Hinchcliffe. All you have to do is take a look at who's on stage during Kill Tony shows, and that will give you a clue that perhaps he's not actually racist. He and Shane Gillis have cut through the racist ideology of woke identitarianism by making fun of everyone, no matter what their background. If Handler is remembered, which is unlikely, it'll be as the nadir of post-war feminism, alone, resentful, bitter and vengeful, maleficent. Yes, and when you watch this, doesn't it feel like she's kind of an anachronism at this point? Like the world has moved on. The fact that there was a roast of Kevin Hart and it is, no holds barred. Everybody gets made fun of. Just the fact that these roasts are so big and everybody knows what they're getting when they go in, doesn't it make her feel like an anachronism? Like just something like just totally obsolete, just clinging on to some sort of relevance. I mean, her jokes aren't going to do it for her, right? Her jokes aren't going to get her, playing at football stadiums, right? So, yeah, it's actually just kind of sad and pathetic in my view. And well, what else can you say? All right. Do we have anything else on this post? This is the woke mind virus bookmark. Oh, yeah. All right. So here's something good. We'll do this, and then we're going to go to the chat for a second. Trigonometry. So this is an ex-climate activist. And you know how we always say that the issue is never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. It's always Marxism. Like the whole foundation of it is always Marxism, and it wears some different masks. It wears like the climate change mask or the Gaza mask, or the feminism mask, but it's really all just the same thing. Now she describes in this interview with Trigonometry, which is Francis Foster and Konstantin Kisin, what she describes here does explain it. Let's take a look.
Everyone who's white is a white supremacist, even if they don't know it, you're racist. So like you should really question what you believe, because more often than not, you're racist. You have cisgender privilege.
And did you think this when this was happening? Were you like, actually, I am, I must be a white supremacist?
I literally was just like, I guess this is what is true. Like, I was just like, I'm going to listen to BIPOC, which is like POCs, people of color. I'm going to listen.
Now, just to remind you, she was a climate activist, but this is all of the ideological baggage that comes along with it.
To other people's perspectives, and I'm going to sit down and shut up, essentially, to listen to what other people have to say. And not that there's anything wrong. Obviously, I think historically, minority voices have been excluded from conversations. So like there's seeds of truth, right? But it just took it such to a degree where, we threw out the idea of the MLK would say you should be judged by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. That was out the window. And it was like everyone who's white and cisgender and privileged doesn't have a perspective here. So anyway, that's the culture of the newsroom. Not that anyone's like a gun to my head being like, you must believe this, but it was just the water that I was swimming in. And I want to be.
Again, when we talk about how when you're woke, when you're a progressive, you don't have friends, right? You have future inquisitors. You have future struggle sessioners, right? That's what she's talking about there. It's just the water that you're swimming in. It's just that bubble, everything around you. You're being watched.
A good person. I'm not inoculated against these ideas coming out of the American education system. And we have social media online for the first time. So it's not like my parents can warn me of how these things work. Throw in the Slack channel where everyone group messages. So it's public messaging. And you very quickly just get a culture that's very ideological in the newsroom. And so I just bought into everything because I wanted to be a good ally. And I'm looking around at the ideology as it's really picking up in the 2017 and post-Trump elected. And it's saying like, if you're a white person, if you're an American, if you're straight, you have all these privileges. And so to me, the climate movement was a perfect way to atone for the sins of my birth of being a privileged person. I can represent the Indigenous Native Americans who have been historically oppressed. I can now help them. So now I'm on the right side of history. I'm atoning for being descended from this oppressive group of people. And so it was all in my psychology, a way to be a good person and fit in with the group, which I felt wasn't going to accept me if I was just like a normal white person who was like, actually, this country is worth defending. Actually, I'm not racist. Like I was never going to say that stuff.
Yeah, it's never just one thing, is it? So if you're going to be a feminist, you have to be all the other things. You have to be Queers for Palestine, right? You have to be, first and foremost, you have to be anti-capitalist. That's the thing that undergirds the whole thing, right? It's all ultimately Marxism, right? But you have to agree, you have to subscribe to just this whole suite of things on everything. Climate or, climate, anti-racism, so-called anti-racism, feminine, just whatever it is, you have to subscribe to the whole suite of it, right? And that's how you brainwash people, right? I mean, if everybody has to agree on literally everything, you just got a cult at this point, right? And if you're afraid to not agree with everything, yeah, you're in a cult. Like if you're afraid of being attacked by the people around you, you're in a cult. And yeah, she's describing it pretty much perfectly here, I think. I thought being a climate activist would atone for being white. They're all connected. They're all connected. You can't just be a climate activist. No. You have to take everything else that comes along with it, including hating yourself. All right. What do we have underneath here? Let's see. John E. Shannon III says, inherited guilt isn't moral clarity. It's a control mechanism. Once people believe they can carry debt by ancestry or category, they can be moved into endless atonement rituals for the things they didn't do. And by the way, this is totally anti-Western civilization, right? This is actually third world thinking, right? Collective guilt. That is not a part of the Western tradition, right? That's not a part of the philosophy that built the Western world as it is now, right? These are tribal beliefs, right? These are extremely regressive ideas, right? That you're guilty for your father's sins. These are tribal identitarian ideas, right? Which the West has been trying to shed itself of to its great benefit, right? The idea of the person as the individual to its great benefit for, thousands of years now, right? And I don't know, because some people decided to call everybody racist, we have to throw all that away, I guess. No, thank you. All right. What do we got
Everyone
next?
who's white.
Do I have anything else I want to see? All right. I think that's enough of that. Let's get to the chat. See what's going on. Here we go. What is going on here? Oh, something wonderful has happened in the chat, people. I woke up this morning. I had no idea this was going to happen. It's absolutely wonderful and magnificent and very, very special. Spambot has gifted 2 subscriptions to Radio Baloney on Rumble. And what else can we really say? I mean, it's a very inspiring moment. And clearly, Spambot is the best person ever. Let's go. I used to have people I admired before this show, before I saw that in the chat. I used to have people that I genuinely admired. I mean, real heroes. But now it's been revealed to me with these 2 subscriptions gifted by Spambot Fodder. It's been revealed to me now that all those people that I admired so much, all human garbage. There's can only be one best person ever, and that person is, of course, Spambot Fodder. Unless somebody else gives subscriptions, and then that person can be as well. But in any case, it's the best thing anybody can do for the channel. I want to thank Spambot Fodder so much for doing that. What a wonderful, wonderful inspiration he has become to everybody. Some people say an earth angel. What's everybody else saying? Candle Monkey, how you doing? Got gifted a membership by Spambot. Wow. Dame Pam, same thing. Beautiful. They had no idea what was going to happen today. No idea. And then boom. Let's see. Candle Monkey got like number 6. So that's 1.75 good karmas for you, my friend. 1.75. I just did that math in my head. Really good with math. Let's see. No, not saying that. Not saying that. Let's see. What else we got? I don't know what's going on here. Rosie says, wait, Richie, she said she is hot. Is that the same hot you were saying you were? No, I think she was referring to her physical appearance, weirdly. I don't, you'd assume she was saying, Chelsea Handler was saying that it was hot in the room and she was hot. But no, weirdly, she was saying that she herself is hot. And very, I believe her word was fuckable. I think she's talking at about like 3:00 a.m. on a Saturday night when she gets a text message from somebody who just struck out at the bar. But he knows Chelsea's always there for him, just in case. Not that he's going to tell anybody about it. Not telling his friends. Let's see. Is she like a moped? Is Chelsea Handler like a moped? Those who know. Let's see. Spambot Fodder says, she is not hot. And I agree. Spambot Fodder says a solid 5. You know, it's not even talking about physically with her. It's just like her soul is so ugly. Right? Like her personality is so gross that even if she were physically beautiful, it would be difficult to find any attraction there because her soul, her character is so corrupt and vile. Let's see. Rosie's saying, okay, I'm starting to think we may need HR in here. No, I told you we are not getting an HR department for the chat. Or just maybe just maybe we need to shout, women, do not listen to any man who tells you to be a whore. Okay, no need for HR now. Thank you, Rosie. Let's see. Very weak connection because I'm out of town. Nevada has, but it's good to see you, JJ. Let's see. What do we got next? Spambot says their evil ideology poisons them, Timmy. Poisons. It is poisonous. Dan Pam says she's not even a 5. No, I would put her at a 0, quite frankly. Just this cancerous personality. Awful. Ringus, how you doing? All right. Izzy says the left is a death cult. I totally agree. Candle Monkey says, is there any chance Handler is being controversial on purpose to stay current and continue to revive her career? Yes, I think that's exactly what she's doing there. And I think that's what Shane Gillis was alluding to in his response to her, right? She's not relevant. And in fact, probably that the Kevin Hart roast is probably the biggest thing she's probably ever done in her life, actually. Just her 5 minutes roasting everybody on that. So, yeah, that's what she's trying to do. It's just it doesn't work anymore. That's why I say she's like an anachronism, you know, that it's just that is obsolete. That's not going to help her. It's getting her she got her a very short amount of a very small, you know, a very short little period of extra notice, but it doesn't go anywhere anymore. Like that's not gonna get her any new opportunities. I would not think. Like it's probably going to get her disinvited from the next roast. Let's see. Candle Monkey says, could she be pandering to her following? Yes, she's definitely doing that. But I don't think her following is actually very big. It's a problem. She's trying to expand it in the worst way possible. Trudeau Survivor says, a better solution to your noisy air conditioner is to buy a super quiet one. Shut up. Look into the something 8,000 BTU Only 32 decibels. Do I sound like somebody who knows what 32 decibels is? I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's loud or quiet. Highly efficient 15 Cree rating. Do I sound like somebody to you who knows what a Cree rating is? People don't know these things. I'm sure of it. I'm staying with that. I'm sticking with that. Nobody knows what these things are. Only Trudeau Survivor does. I don't know. I could maybe run it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe nobody can hear it. Maybe I just need the fan. Maybe I just need the fan. Maybe I'll have to go get it later on. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But thank you for your suggestion, Trudeau Survivor. Thank you for your suggestions. I just, I'm just a jerk, I think. Let's see. Dame Pan, she's fashionably thin with long hair that's likely bleached, and that's about it. That's about it. I can't get past the rotten, decrepit soul. That's my problem there. Candle Monkey says, if Handler's doing it on purpose, it might be a wise business decision. Shut the fuck up. We don't pay you nothing to come in here. And, well, never mind. Shut your trap. Let's see. What are we talking about? Spambot says, I don't need an AC. He doesn't need an AC. He's a real man. I will move my office to the basement for the summer. That's actually a good idea. Very good idea. Let's see. And the thing about Alberta is the nights get cool. Right? So you leave the window open and it gets nice and cool in there. Trudeau Survivor says, listening to leftists talk about getting slightly red-pilled is cringe. That's interesting. All right, let's move on. I mean, you guys want to be here all night? For God's sakes, we should move on. Although maybe we should do an ad or something. I don't know. Let's take a look. We got a crazy ad. Got any crazy ads in here? Crazy Rumble Wallet ad. What? Let's check it out. Oh, man. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money and delaying transfers or limiting access, you're in control, not communists, you. And if you ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now fast forward to today. Everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want. Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. Did they say real gold? Real precious gold. And no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in how long? How long? Years, months, days, hours? No, minutes. Running in minutes. That's the best way. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some, unlike commies. So I snuck a little bit of commie hate in there right at the end. A little bit right at the end. Because you guys always complain if I don't say anything about communists. So I gave you a little bit. And I know Rumble doesn't mind me adding that into their ads. I've been doing it forever, folks. Ever. I started that whole trend that nobody else does. All right. Chef Rico says, how you doing, Chef Rico? Says, yeah, trash talking commie, 7 out of 14/2. 14 divided by 2, so that would be 7 out of 7. Yes. Almost the most you can get out of 7. Let's see. Ringa says, thanks, Rosie. I like Rumble better than YouTube. Everybody does. Let's see. All right. Is that it? Is that it? All right. Let's move on then. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, wait a second. Rosie says, crypto ad read would be 11 out of 10. Excellent, passion, and believable. Tiny commie hate. Not enough. 9.7 out of 10. Well, you know, it's a new ad. I don't think I've read that one before, and I tried to get the commie hate in there, but still, that said, 9.7 out of 10, I think, is still the most you can get out of 10. So thank you. Izzy says, I love me a Rumble crypto wallet. You can even get digital gold backed by real gold. Precious, precious gold. I think that's good. Maybe either way. 100 out of 10. As far as I understand it, I don't have a calculator with me, but I believe that's almost the most you can get out of 10. Wow. Things are going good tonight. Things are going real good. Real good. James, how you doing? Says Radio B on the air. Good to see you. If you like the stream, you get some free good karma. True. I heard about that. I heard about this guy, watched the whole stream, loved the stream, didn't hit the like button. Next day, because he didn't get any good karma, next day, he got spina bifida, if you can believe it. Terrible. And then the next day, he got lupus. Bad news. Get that free good karma right now. Oh, now what are we doing? Let's see. So, Tulsi Gabbard has resigned as a DNI. Tulsi Gabbard has resigned from her position, Director of National Intelligence, because her husband has bone cancer, and there are people on the internet. There are people on, X talking about that Trump wasn't happy with her and blah. Her husband has bone cancer, right? Anybody do the same thing, right? If it was me, yeah. Oh, this is something I have to take care of. This is something I have to deal with, right? That's more important than anything else. So, I feel very bad for her. Tulsi Gabbard posted this today with great humility and sincere appreciation. I shared the below letter with President Trump. It has been a profound honor to serve the American people as DNI. Director of National Intelligence. Dear Mr. President, I am deeply grateful for the trust you placed in me and for the opportunity to lead the office of the Director of National Intelligence for the last year and a half. Unfortunately, I must submit my resignation effective June 30th, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. And that's what anybody would do, right? So, I mean, it's just any kind of suggestions that she's forced out or something. I don't know. Her husband has bone cancer, right? I mean, that's all you need to know. Let's see. What do they say here on Fox News about it? Let's take a look.
On to this breaking news now. Fox News has just learned Tulsi Gabbard is resigning from her post as Director of National Intelligence. All right, let's get right to David Spunt. He's got the news for us. David?
Well, Sandra, we are told that Tulsi Gabbard is resigning effective June 30th because of her husband's recent diagnosis of an aggressive form of bone cancer. Our thoughts, of course, are with Ms. Gabbard and her family, Director Gabbard, and her husband, Abraham. She said that Abraham has been her rock since they've been married, and she submitted her resignation letter to the president and two members of the senior staff, announcing that her last day would be June 30th because of this diagnosis of her husband's bone cancer. Unfortunately, This is something that Gabbard says that she cannot continue to manage doing two jobs at that time. So she will continue serving in the role of the Director of National Intelligence, overseeing the CIA, National Security Council, other agencies, but will leave June 30th because of this tragic news of her husband's bone cancer diagnosis. Sandra and John, as she helps him fight that over the coming months.
Yeah. So, I mean, like any kind of rumor mongering around this, it strikes me as being extremely distasteful. Here, Data Republican says, thanks for your service. Miss Gabbard, you will be missed. Tulsi is a true patriot. I was very fearful about this day coming. Nick Sortor posted that. You know, underneath here, he says, we haven't seen the end of Tulsi. Yeah, I mean,
On to this breaking news.
I have been a supporter of Tulsi. I've been an admirer of Tulsi Gabbard as she's made her political journey, and I think she ended up in the right place. So she'll probably be back at some point again. But let's go to some of Tulsi's greatest hits here. Real Robert posted this. What do we have here?
One of the most significant pieces of evidence that was revealed in that report we released yesterday is the fact that Russia claimed to have very, very damaging information, high-level DNC emails relating specifically to Hillary Clinton's physical and mental health, and DNC leaders questioning whether or not, if elected, she would even be capable of carrying out the duties of the presidency. Russia had this. If they wanted to swing the election for Donald Trump, they would have released it in September, October of 2016 at a pivotal time to swing momentum into Donald Trump's direction and damage Hillary Clinton's campaign. They did not do that deliberately. They understood that Hillary Clinton would likely be the inevitable president of the United States. They didn't think Trump could win, like a lot of other people. And so they were withholding this damaging information about Hillary Clinton and planning to release it in the days or weeks leading up to her expected inauguration, in order to once again sow chaos within the United States.
Yeah, she released important files around the Russia collusion case. And that was a big thing that she did. Here she is again. Here she's talking to Megyn Kelly. Let's take a look.
Then we did fund it. Then Anthony Fauci helped fund the pandemic.
The thing that he denied over and over and over to Senator Rand Paul's questioning.
That's right. Under oath.
Under oath, exactly. So is it any wonder that he sought a preemptive pardon for anything during a certain period of time by President Biden before he left office?
And then we did fund it. Then.
Yep. Here she is talking about electronic voting systems. Let's take a look.
We're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time, and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections. We're investigating. We have the best of the best.
Just going head on with all the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. I mean, that was the Durham annex she was talking about before. Here, voting machines, not supposed to talk about that stuff. Hold on. Here she is accepting the position of DNI. Hold on, let's take a look.
Mr. President, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for the trust that you have placed in me to fulfill this critical position as Director of National Intelligence at any time, but specifically during this time. Unfortunately, the American people have very little trust in the intelligence community, largely because they've seen the weaponization and politicization of an entity that is supposed to be purely focused on ensuring our national security. So I look forward to being able to help fulfill that mandate that the American people delivered to you very clearly in this election to refocus our intelligence community by empowering the great patriots who have chosen to serve our country in this way and focus on ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As you've said, Mr. President, this is what I've dedicated my life to, and it is truly humbling to be in this position, to serve in your administration, help to rebuild that trust, and ultimately to keep the American people safe. Last thing I'll mention, that in your National Prayer Breakfast speech, you made a statement about your legacy of wanting to be remembered as a peacemaker. I know that I can speak for many of my fellow service members who are here today, veterans, Medal of Honor recipients, how deeply that resonates with us. For those who volunteer to put their lives on the line when duty calls, but to have a president and commander-in-chief who recognizes the cost of that sacrifice and ensuring that war is the last resort, not the first. So thank you for your leadership on behalf of my friends here and all who wear the uniform. We're grateful. Thank you.
She's a class act, Tulsi. She really is. What else do we have here? In Tulsi Gabbard's historic opening statement, she takes the deep state head on. Let's take a look.
To my husband, Abraham, my family, friends, fellow veterans, Medal of Honor recipients, and patriots, thank you for your love and support. I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you." For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence. This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers, millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of Al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible.
Well, there was so much, it's actually hard to remember it all, isn't it? You're listening to it going, oh yeah, they did that, didn't they? Oh yeah, they did that as well. Well, got a feeling it's probably not the last that the American public will see of Tulsi. Especially if in 2028 it's, Vance or Rubio becomes president. But anyway, best wishes to her and her husband, and a terrible situation, and I hope he recovers. All right. What are you guys saying? Let's go back to you guys for a second. Hold on. Hold on. I got too many tabs. There we go. All right. Bambot says she should have said President Autopen. Yep. Ottawa James says, I like Tulsi, sad to see her go. And how you doing, Ottawa? Good to see you. Let's see. Ringa says, my thoughts and prayers go to Tulsi Gabbard and her husband. I wish her husband all the best and hope he gets the best care in fighting cancer. Yep. And I think he will. I think probably Trump will probably help with that. Let's see. All right, I got to skip down. Let's see. Now you guys are talking about if the power goes, the grid goes down. Whatever. That's a different stream. Let's see. Okay, you guys are still talking about if the grid goes down. We've talked about that on this channel a lot. Oh, not talking about it right now. Let's see. All right, let's just move on. It's all just totally off topic, which is fine. You guys can do whatever you want. Whatever you want. Hold on. Okay, now what are we talking about? Should we go to the EU? So here we go. Daily Romania. The Daily Romania posted this. The EU was awarded the European Order of Merit to Angela Merkel for her promotion and, you can't make this up, defense of European values. That's right. You heard that right. Angela Merkel, Mother Merkel, the woman who tried to import, I don't know, like half of the Middle East into Germany, is getting the Order of Merit for her defense of European values. Wow, this is really, it's just comedy, is it not? I mean, the EU and its infinite insanity has decided to honor former German Chancellor Angela Merkel for her defense of European values. Because nothing says defense of European values like, let's make 30% of our population non-European, which is exactly what she did. Yeah, so hold on a second. What have we got here? Hold on. So what's been going on in Germany? Well, let's see. This is from 2016. So 2015 is when Mother Merkel decided to invite, I think, 1.1 million people from totally different culture to Germany. And yeah, it totally didn't go well, by the way. It doesn't feel like what she did was defend European values. So right away, like the next year, 2016, they got right to doing a mass sexual assault on New Year's Eve. Let's see. German police have released photos of 5 men wanted in connection with the mass sexual assaults on women in Cologne on New Year's Eve. Only 5? Why would that be? Let's see. Some 1,100 complaints were reported in the wake of the attacks, and prosecutors are currently investigating 108 suspects, 13 of whom are in custody. Around 40% of the complaints were of crimes of a sexual nature, ranging from harassment to rape. Let's see. The New Year's Eve attacks sparked a debate in Germany on how to deal with asylum seekers found guilty of crimes and the country's ability to integrate the 1.1 million migrants who arrived in 2015 alone. So that's just a small part of the mass migration to Germany. That's just a small part of the migration to Germany, but it was a big spike there very quickly. So it's sparked a debate in Germany on how to deal with asylum seekers found guilty of crimes. Well, they have the AfD now, which I think their solution is kick them out, get rid of them. Why do you want them in the first place? An ability to integrate the 1.1 million migrants who arrived in 2015 alone. Look, even Angela Merkel herself said that mass migration or multiculturalism was a failure, right? Why are they giving her an award? Why are they giving her this order of merit. I mean, she even admitted herself that she made a mistake. Let's see. Migrant crisis. How Europe went from Merkel's "we can do it" to pulling up the drawbridge. Because it's inevitable, because it was never going to work, because multiculturalism is terrible. Because multiculturalism is not defending European values. It's the opposite of that. What do we have here? Hold on. Thought I had something down here. I thought I did. I don't know. Maybe I don't. What did I want on here? Let's see. This was August 2015, and Europe was witnessing the greatest movement in population since the end of the Second World War. More than 1 million people would arrive in the EU over the next few months, driven by violence in Syria, as well as Afghanistan and Iraq and elsewhere, except it was just all men. It's just a bunch of military-aged men, and they left almost all of them are military-aged men who left their women and children at home. What, to fight the war? Strange. Europe, those aren't European values, leaving the women and children at home in the war zone? Since 2015, Germany has experienced unprecedented levels of immigration, driven initially by the European refugee crisis. The population with an immigration history has surged to roughly 25 million. 25 million, meaning about 30% of the country's population has a migration background. And she was chancellor until 2021, by the way. So I'm not sure that I'm seeing all of this defensive European values here. Let's see, around 40 to 60% of post-2015 migrants, especially asylum seekers, refugees in Germany, around 40 to 60% of post-2015 migrants, especially asylum seekers, refugees in Germany, receive some form of social benefits or welfare, with rates significantly higher than for natives or earlier EU migrants, 40 to 60%. So just having a giant underclass that's going to be dependent on, I guess, German taxpayers forever, those are European values? It seems strange to me. I'm not sure I'm getting this. Feels like the plan didn't work out properly. Or maybe it did. Maybe this was the point. Maybe a permanent underclass that will just vote for more, for gimme, gimme, right? Whoever offers gimme, gimme forever. I don't know. Actually, I do know that's exactly what's happening. So, Angela Merkel defended European values. Really? Were they defending European values when they told women that, like German women, they had to dress differently so not to entice the newcomers too much? Wonder about that. Let's see. So I guess in this weird upside down world, then the fastest growing party in Germany, the AfD, which is comprised of just normal people who finally cottoned on to the fact that they were totally unrepresented by any of the parties that exist. And they were going to be just eternally betrayed by these globalist parties. But this party of this actual grassroots party, that's just normal people, not all consuming globalists, and the only people who actually seem to like Europe, right? And so AfD, that's another thing, right? They actually seem to like Europe, right? They probably would seem to like European values more than, I don't know, like Merkel actually does. But they're not defending European values. Merkel is the one who's just clearly undermined them massively. Like, if you all of a sudden turn 30% of your population into a foreign culture that does not have the same values as you, that doesn't have European values, that is the clear threat to European values. That is not a defense of it. That's an attack on them, obviously. I mean, how could it be any more obvious? Why is the world so upside down? Why are people so stupid? So, what is the end game here for them? Like, what does Merkel think? You know, why don't Germans just put all their women in burqas, right? Take away their rights. Those are European values now. It's almost like they just use words to manipulate people. It's almost as if they don't actually have any value, like even a word like values. So I don't know. I think that the EU's idea of European values is actually sounding a lot more like just a suicide note, frankly. And yeah, let's get rid of these tabs. It's very sad, actually, to be honest. Let's go back to the chat for a second. What are we talking about? Okay, now where are we? Ringus says, I don't think the EU or Merkel even had values. It's just the word they use to manipulate, right? Same way that Mark Carney uses that word. It's just what they want. They talk about our values, but they're really just talking about what they want. Dame Pam says they put themselves on pedestals because no one else will. Yeah, I guess they have to remind themselves that they're the good guys. Chef Rico says, yuck. What's up with that pic of Merkel? There's nothing up with it. I already closed that. There's nothing up with it. She's just gross. Let's see. Candle Monkey says, and here's a testimonial, right? And when I say that you get good karma from liking the stream, I'm not messing around here. I'm not kidding around, right? And I ask people, put the testimonial in the chat. Candle Monkey says, I wasn't going to say anything, but I clicked like on the Radio Baloney show, and ever since then, the ladies have really been noticing me. And did you get lupus? No, you didn't, did you? Chef Rico says, ask as much. That's allowed on this show. That's allowed. It's encouraged. Oh no, Mother Merkel, Dame Pam says. She really fucked over her country, didn't she? Let's see. Chef Rico says, here again, another testimonial. This time a very sad one. This is a warning. He says, I forgot to click the like button once. I got gout. See what I tell you guys. I'm really sorry to hear about that, Chef Rico, but I warned you. Trudeau Survivor says, how do morons like Merkel ascend to power? They fail upwards like Mark Carney. They just say the right things and they get in with the right group, and that's it. They can't fail. And they have this machine press behind them, right? That will just manufactures consent. Dame Pam says internal rituals of praise, maybe. Let's see. Chef Rico says, don't forget they don't have free speech, not in Germany, not in a country where the politicians passed a law that allows them to prosecute people for calling them names. Let's see. Let's see. Who wears pink like that if she wants to be taken serious outside of a golf course? Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about, Rosie? Do we have a golf course one? Oh, there we go. That's the one. Let's stay on this one for a bit. Nice swing. Nice swing. All right. Let's go to the next thing then, I guess. What are we, an hour and 25 in? Holy macaroni. What do we got next? All right. So here's Danielle Smith talking about the October referendum, and the plan has changed a little bit. I kind of feel for Danielle Smith here because she's in between a rock and a hard place. She is not a pro-independence person. She's a pro-Canada politician. She wants United Canada. She wants a strong Alberta within a strong Canada, right? But she also respects the rights of the voters, right? And the will of the Alberta voters. So She wants there to be a referendum if the people demand it. Now, unfortunately, there have been a bunch of roadblocks. So there was, of course, the activist judge, which has blocked the petition, which got enough signatures to have a referendum. But let's hear what Daniel Smith has to say about it.
Alberta's future will be decided by Albertans, not the courts. Our government will therefore be appealing the decision to Alberta's Court of Appeal and, if necessary, the Supreme Court of Canada. But this process will take many months and possibly years before being addressed by those higher courts. In the meantime, under our legal system, this troubling court decision is binding law in Alberta until it is successfully appealed. This means that it is unlikely the courts will permit Elections Alberta to hold a binding provincial referendum on separation until this incorrect ruling is overturned or clarified. But there is another way to hear from Albertans while we wait for our legal appeal to be heard. That is why I'm announcing today that I will be requesting our government add an additional question to the October 19th referendum vote announced previously. The additional question will be, should Alberta remain a province of Canada? Or should the government of Alberta commence the legal process required under the Canadian Constitution to hold a binding provincial referendum on whether or not Alberta should separate from Canada? Because this proposed referendum question does not directly trigger separation, but if successful, would ask Alberta's government to commence the legal process necessary to hold a binding referendum on the matter, the recent court ruling would not be applicable, and the referendum question I outlined could proceed. This question will also ensure the 700,000 signatories to both the Forever Canada petition and the Stay Free Alberta petition are respected, and the will of Albertans is heard. Kicking the can down the road only prolongs a very emotional and important debate, and muzzling the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans wanting to be heard is unjustifiable in a free and democratic society. It's time to have a vote, understand the will of Albertans on this subject, and move on.
Yeah, she's in a tough spot. I mean, she's doing what seems like the only thing she can really do at this point, which still keeps the issue alive. I mean, what's she supposed to do? Pick up a musket and march on Ottawa? So I do also think that this might be a blessing in disguise, because I don't think that the October referendum would have gotten the required result. I don't think that the October, this might be, let me start over again. Hold on. There's something about my brain.
I ain't got a good brain.
This might be a blessing in disguise for those supporting Alberta independence, in that I don't think that the separatists were going to get the desired result in October. I think it was too quick. I think things moved along too quickly, actually. And from the polling that I've seen, and of course, Canadian polling is notoriously biased, but even if it were 10 points off, it still would be a bridge too far, I think, for October. I don't think that those kind of mushy people kind of in the middle, I don't think that those people that might be on the fence are quite there yet. Or those people who would even get on the fence in the first place are there yet. And I don't think they're going to get there by October. So if it could be delayed a year or two or even 3, I think that would benefit the separatist cause. And I'm not even an Alberta separatist myself, right? And I love Alberta, right? And I absolutely respect Albertans. I absolutely respect Albertans' right to decide their own future, and it's in the Constitution that they can do that, right? I support that. And look, I've lived in Alberta, and I love Alberta. And I would like to see Canada stay together, but I do respect the right to separate if that's what the people want, right? Isn't that supposed to be what democracy is all about? But I think that the separatists will have a better case a year or 2 into Carney's rule, because it ain't getting any better. Things are getting worse under Carney, and they're going to continue to get worse. Carney has made it very clear what his priority is, and his priority is net zero finance, and that's it. That's what he's interested in, and he wants to shovel. He wants to extract absolutely the maximum money from the Canadian Treasury. He wants to max out the Canadian credit card, the government credit card, to subsidize his net zero stuff. And then when his term is over, he will leave Canada as quick as he parachuted in and pick out which castle in Europe he wants to live in, right? So things are not going to get better in Canada, and the separatists will have a stronger case the longer it goes. So maybe a blessing in disguise here. As for Danielle Smith, she doesn't have a lot of options here. I think this is probably the best that she could do. And again, I think probably it's beneficial for the Leave side.
Alberta's future will.
Now I want to show you the Canadian media. This gives you an idea of, hold on a second. This will give you an idea of why Albertans want to leave, why there is, probably at least 30% of Albertans would like to leave Canada. Here's Robert Fife. This is the attitude. This is the Laurentian elite attitude towards those backwards hillbillies in Alberta. Let's take a look.
Danielle Smith is about to be the first Federalist Premier in Canada to put a separatism question on a ballot and then campaign to stay, it would appear, is where this is going to go today. What do you make of the dynamic we're seeing here with the Premier of Alberta?
Madness.
Okay.
Total madness. Here you have a Premier.
When did anybody on the CBC ever say that Quebec separatism is madness? I mean, they've actually had referendums, right? And it came very, very close at 95, within like 1 point. We never heard any of this from these people, from these Laurentian elites, right? From these journalists. We never heard any of that. But now it's Alberta. They can't hide their contempt for Western Canadians.
Who has been saying loudly since she was elected, and even before she was elected, that we need pipelines, we need natural gas pipelines, we need oil pipelines, we need to get our product to market, and we need foreign investors to come in here to Alberta to invest in them. What is she doing? She wants to hold a referendum so that foreign investors will say, you know what, I think I'll wait before I put any money in.
Are these people even capable of thinking anymore? Right? Is it just so, it's just the shilling for the Liberals, just so deeply ingrained now that they can't even think. It's just automatic. It's just like a mind virus. It's taken over their brains. The uncertainty has come from the Liberal government, obviously. The uncertainty has come from all of the regulation. The uncertainty has come from the need to get, get approval from 800 different bands, from anywhere from 30 people to, 1,000. Right? This is where the uncertainty comes from. The uncertainty comes from bills that the Liberals have passed to make it impossible to make pipelines. That's where the uncertainty has come from. Now, does the separation question add some uncertainty? I think so, but far less than what the government itself has. Because if Alberta becomes independent, the worst thing that will happen for an oil and gas company is that they won't have to pay carbon taxes. They won't have to do carbon capture anymore. They won't have a million ridiculous regulations in their way. That's the danger, right? No, the uncertainty comes from where you live, Robert Fife, from the people that you worship, the people who pay you, actually, through tax dollars. And he wants the Liberal Party to go on forever, and he can just keep showing up and getting whatever appearance fee he gets from CBC just till the end of time. Who cares what happens to the rest of Canada? Definitely, who cares what happens to those barbarians over in Alberta? If you want to convince Albertans, if the separation people want to convince Albertans, just play clips of this guy over and over and over again. That ought to do it. That was posted by Ryan Garrettson. Posted this clip. Oh, he then goes on to call these separatists MAGA separatists. Oh, these people are contemptible.
In here because, capital does not like disruption. They do not like uncertainty. And now she's created uncertainty. I mean, I'm sure
it's like he just got to Canada 5 minutes ago. I mean, this is supposed to be a respected journalist in Canada. Wow.
Prime Minister privately must be pulling out his hair out of his head. Like, what is going on with this? Look, I have great faith in Albertans. They're patriotic people. They're not going to vote to separate from Canada. There's a group of about 20% who are MAGA separatists, I guess.
It shows you they don't even bother to research the things they're talking about anymore, right? MAGA separatists, implying that they want to join the states. No, they don't want to join the states. That is not the separatist movement in Alberta. They want their own country, right? And then they want to have their own trade deals with the United States. The level of contempt that these people just can't help but show. Again, this is how you convince. If you want to convince people to leave Canada, show this. Show them this. Just have this on a loop somewhere. What else have we got here? Let's see. Jen Gerson. Here's more CBC. Let's take a look.
And what about the pipeline? Just final question.
What about the pipeline? Oh, did we think the pipeline was going to make this go away? That's unfortunate. Look, this is what we're facing now isn't.
Oh, you mean the MOU on the imaginary pipeline that's never going to get built? That the MOU with the poison pills in it they're going to make sure it never get built. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that Albertans have learned by now, right? Not to believe everything that comes out of a CBC teleprompter or out of Mark Carney's mouth. Let me amend that. Not to believe anything that comes from those places.
A narrow economic grievance or a narrow economic gambit. I mean, maybe that's where this started. But the momentum here right now is on the side of people who treat the idea of the Republic of Alberta as a kind of religious movement. It's a millenarian movement. These guys fundamentally believe that if they get the right vote or if they get a unilateral declaration of support by Trump, that they can create some kind of year zero style conservative monoculture landlocked state. And you can't.
These people live in their own freaking world. I mean, this is her, I guess, MAGA Albertan fantasy world that she's created in her head. Just again, the contempt these people have, the contempt they have for people they don't even understand. Wow. Let's see. What have we got here? Oh, yeah, this one's great. This one's posted by Scott Robertson. This one is, what is this? CTV, this one. So, I mean, there's not really much between CBC, CTV, Global News. Let's take a look.
You know, if this should succeed, Danielle Smith will go down as probably the worst premier Canada has ever had.
Isn't that Christy Clark? She's talking about worst premiers? Wow. I think people who have been plagued by the NDP in British Columbia for the last many long years might have something else to say about that. But let's continue.
I think if it fails, she'll go down as someone who got lucky and got out of there with her skin intact and certainly still isn't qualified to be the premier of a province. You know, if this should succeed, Danielle Smith will go down as probably the worst premier Canada has ever had. I think if it fails, she'll go down as someone who got lucky and got out of there with her skin intact and certainly still isn't qualified to be the premier of a province.
It's just endless from these people. It's not even worth responding to. Right. Let's continue. Hold on. What's this panel? Okay, we already got that. Let's see what Pierre Poilievre has to say. And Pierre Poilievre's in a tough spot with this as well. Now, of course, he's going to be a federalist. Of course, he's going to want to keep Canada intact, obviously. But he also doesn't want to offend Albertans. And I think he does understand their points. He just wants to fix it so that they don't want to leave anymore. But let's take a look.
Hi, Leanne Young from CBC. So do you think Premier Daniel Smith should call a referendum on Alberta's place in Canada? And in that vein, as an Alberta MP, what action will you try to take to keep Alberta within Canada in the face of a referendum?
So I'm a strong Canadian federalist, a proud Albertan, and a proud Canadian. I want a strong Alberta within a united Canada. And all conservatives will be campaigning for Canadian unity in Alberta, and potentially, we hope not, but potentially in Quebec as well, if the separatists win there. We believe that Alberta deserves a fair deal in this country, which means that we unblock the resources, we allow the oil and gas sector to grow, we get the federal government off the backs and out of the way of Alberta workers and small businesses so the province can prosper, reverse the gun grab and other unnecessary federal liberal irritants, but all for the purpose of making our country more united, more affordable, and more strong. It is the job of the Prime Minister of Canada to unite the country. And as Prime Minister in waiting, I will begin that work myself. I will be campaigning across the province of Alberta, encouraging Albertans to stay as part of the Canadian family and encouraging nationwide unity for all Canadians.
Yeah, it's weird how Mark Carney doesn't seem to bear any responsibility for what's happening. There seems to be no expectation from the mainstream media in Canada, who he pays and funds, right? There seems to be no expectation of Mark Carney actually describing how he's going to keep it together or bearing any responsibility for separatist sentiment, right? Weird, but Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition, gets the question, of course. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that if Pierre Poilievre had become prime minister, I don't think the referendum's happening, because I don't think it would need to. Because I think that we know for a fact he would have gotten rid of all of the net zero stuff. He would have canceled all the legislation that has caused the uncertainty for business, right? And I think it's very likely a work on a pipeline would have already begun at this point. So there would have been much less need for a referendum had Pierre Poilievre been prime minister. We're prime minister right now. And I think it's a tragedy for Canada, quite frankly. All right. Let's see. All right, that's it. That's it for this one. Actually, hold on. John Alberta Patriot. What's this? So apparently a guy in Calgary told him we're not even allowed to discuss Alberta independence. Well, let's take a look.
Hey, what do you think of Alberta independence?
You have to be kidding.
We're making a video asking people
there is no independence allowed in Canada. Discussion over. Discussion over.
So we're only allowed to discuss approved topics?
But there's going to be no independence for Alberta.
So, but we're only allowed to discuss things that are approved? Do you see the problem with that?
And did the court not rule against that because of the natives?
Well, right now it's being appealed. One judge made a decision.
A judge said.
So if a later judge overturns it, will you change your opinion?
No.
So then you're being legal doesn't mean anything to you then. If one judge says yes and one other judge says no.
Separation did not work.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Alberta. We're landlocked.
Yeah.
We don't have any access to the ocean. It's stupidity.
Okay. So, but Quebec had 2 votes, 2 referendums. They had 49.5%.
Yeah.
So they just about did it.
They tried.
And the Supreme Court ruled that if they had a majority, they would have been able to leave.
It would have been, but again.
So then it is possible for Alberta because we're just like Quebec. We're a province.
It is stupidity.
Yeah. Okay, but why is it stupid?
What does Alberta gain by going independent? What do we gain?
We gain control over our resources, over immigration,
have control over our
laws.
resources. For God's sakes, Peter Lougheed flew out to Ottawa to sign the NEC, and then he came back home and whined and cried about it.
Okay.
So if he's such a great leader, why did he go and sign that deal in the first place?
Peter Lougheed was before my time. I apologize. I'm not a historian.
I am.
Yeah. You're a historian?
I'm 61.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, you asked me what we gain, and I think we gain more control over our resources,
We
control
already have
over
control
our
over
politics.
our resources.
Yeah.
We already have control. Danielle Smith went and signed that whole deal and all that other jazz.
The fact that she has to go and sign an MOU with Ottawa, with Carney, means they don't have full control of their resources. They don't have control. These people don't even think. Like they're incapable of thinking. Like as they're speaking, they're incapable of thinking.
We have to agree to a carbon tax in order to build a pipeline. Is that control over our resources?
We
yeah,
do.
yeah. She agreed to carbon tax and to machines that are going to suck carbon out of the air and pump it into the ground. We have to build all of that in order to build a pipeline.
Guess what?
Yeah.
There's solar and there's wind energy.
Yeah.
Oh, they just switched solar and wind. That's right. Asia wants, how are we going to get our solar energy over to Asia? They don't even think. It's just a bunch of platitudes and a bunch of catchphrases, right? I mean, it's truly bizarre.
Get used to them.
Okay.
Get
Well,
used to them.
one more thing for the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you one more thing, and then I'm going to continue walking along. This is my friend Igor, by the way. Yeah. Okay. Hey, thank you so much.
There's your typical Carney voter right there. Right there. Wow. Oh, boy, oh, boy. All right. All right, let's get back to the chat for a second. Dame Pam says Quebec will likely apply for separation again very soon. Yeah, I mean they've got it's rising again. It's the separative sentiment is rising again in Quebec. Oh, no, nobody freaks out about that for some reason. Why is that? A no understanding of the limits of solar and wind. Yeah, but I mean the whole thing with the pipeline is so you can sell energy to overseas, so you can sell to basically Asia, Japan, China, Korea, right? They all want it. Right? You can't do that with solar. It doesn't make any sense. Like, and by the way, in terms of solar panels, China's cornered the market on that anyway, so that's not like an export thing for us. What James says, Pam, they want to piss us off. Yeah. If they do, I'll vote yes, Dame Pam says. Let's see. Ottawa James says 2 friggin' referendums and no controversy in Quebec. Exactly. To be honest, I'm of the mind now that if Quebec wants to separate, I think everybody should support it. Like, I like French Canadians too. And, you know, I respect the fact they want to protect their language and everything. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all, quite frankly. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe the rest of Canada should have a referendum on whether or not they want Quebec to stay in the country at this point, because they don't seem to like Canada. They suck up a lot of resources, especially from the West. And, you know, they're totally opposed to using our resources. Like, Canada without Quebec would be a stronger country. It'd be very hard for the Liberals to win, actually, with Quebec gone. So I don't say this out of spite. I'm like, a lot of Quebecers want to leave, and I support them. And I'm not being, you know, ironic about it or anything like that. I like Quebec. I like French Canadians. I respect them. And if they want to, I think it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone, quite frankly. Let's see. Like, I think it could be a very amicable divorce, to be honest. Like, at this point, you have to wonder, like, why should Quebec have any voice over what happens in Alberta with energy, or at all, to be honest, right? Seriously, why? How does that even make sense at this point? All right. So what's going on here? Canadians are getting sick and tired of activists demanding our heritage be washed away? Well, especially when it's from people who got here like 10 minutes ago. Let's take a look.
A quick question. During your consultation process, does the change of name from Queen's Park to an indigenous name came up? I'm asking this because revitalization for indigenous peoples is also indigenous erasure, and you have done some consultations. However, it is still Queen's Park. So it's this suggests the how settler colonialism spreads all over the insidious nature of settler colonialism.
So he can barely speak English, and he's telling Canadians that because we're evil colonists, we have to change the names of everything. How does this work exactly? A guy clearly, obviously didn't grow up in Canada, right? What does this guy have invested in Canada? This is what we do. This is what we do in Canada. These are the people that we're supposed to listen to. Ingrates, like absolute narcissistic ingrates who have no business telling us frickin' anything. This is what we have to deal with. I'm going to assume he's from India, right? Well, let's see. The Indian caste system is a deeply entrenched, millennia-old social hierarchy originating in South Asia that has migrated to Canada for some reason with the South Asian diaspora. Let's see. While illegal in India, although, it's not so much really, this prejudice persists in parts of Canada. Why does it persist in parts of Canada? Because obviously it persists in India as well, leading to discrimination in housing, employment, and social interactions. Right? They have a class, the bottom class, called literally the untouchables. Okay, and this is in Canada now. Caste prejudice often remains invisible to the wider Canadian public, but is acutely felt within the South Asian community. It surfaces in various ways: social exclusion, workplace and housing, prejudice. Stereotypes are sometimes passed down from older generations to youth. Well, that's typically the way these things go, isn't it? Perpetuating harmful views. All right. So I would say, if you're not going to go back to the non-evil country, right, the non-racist country, maybe there's something you could work on in Canada. Maybe eradicating the caste system in Canada, which was brought to Canada, right? It's persisting in Canada, apparently. Maybe you could do something about that. Then maybe go back to India and try and stamp it out there as well. How about that? There's something useful you could do. Right? Why are you lecturing us about colonialism? I mean, it's actually disgusting, is it not? Like, it's gross. Like, why? It makes me angry. Why should we be putting up with this? Fuck off back then. If you don't like it so much here, if you don't like it here so much, right? It sounds like India's got problems too. Maybe worse problems than Canada. In fact, definitely worse problems than Canada. So why is this something that we need to deal with in Canada? It's maddening, is it not? All right. Trudeau Survivor says the 61-year-old historian is likely motivated by a government pension. Yes, probably. Or meth. He looked like he might have been a meth head too. I don't know. Although I'm sure you can be like a government subsidized historian and be a meth head too. At this point, that is what has become of Canada. Let's see. What do we got here? Large online streaming services must contribute 15% of the large online streaming services must contribute 15% of their Canadian revenues to Canadian content, the federal broadcast regulator said Thursday. The CRTC, which is deciding what Canadians can watch and what they should watch, right? It's not really so interested in what Canadians want to watch. It's more concerned in what we should watch, what they would want us to watch. Of course, this is part of the Trudeau-era Online Streaming Act. So, I don't know. Could there be any, could there be any consequences of this? Could there be any unforeseen consequences here? I wonder. The regulator also said Thursday online streamers will have to take steps to ensure Canadian and Indigenous content is available and visible to audiences. Isn't it already? This content is already available at low cost to most Canadians on CBC, but virtually no one watches it. Availability isn't the problem. The problem is nobody wants it, right? So in Canada, in central planning Canada, and what people want doesn't matter. It's what the government wants for you. That's what matters, right? So online streaming services, Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever. It just turns out that they have content that Canadians actually want to watch, no matter how elbows up they are, by the way. They'll still watch that American content. Amazing, huh? So, meanwhile, CBC's absurd fight to keep GEM subscriber numbers secret. So that's the CBC streaming service that's supposed to compete with the American ones, CBC GEM. Nobody watches it because everything that's on it is garbage. There's no more SCTVs or Kids in the Hall on Canadian TV anymore, right? It's been wokeified to the point where nobody's interested in it now. The Crown Corporation is trying to get out of revealing this one statistic on a technicality. How many people are actually paying for it, for the CBC streaming service? They don't want people to know. It's all funded by taxpayers, by the way, and the money they're using to prevent themselves from in court, the money they're using in court to try and keep those numbers secret is also paid for by Canadian taxpayers, by the way. Which I'm sure is great news to everyone. Let's see. This micro war was kicked off when a University of Ottawa law prof, Matt Malone, filed a Freedom of Information request asking for the number of paid GEM subscribers, a single commercial parameter that the naive might expect a Crown Corporation will be willing to disclose, considering it's all funded with tax dollars, of course. There is a free GEM service that streams a wide array of recorded CBC programs, but for $6 a month, you can get the same stuff in an ad-free version, plus a live stream of the CBC News Network. And they're trying to hide the numbers. Why would they be trying to hide them? If they were really good, they'd be screaming them from the rooftops. Look at how good we're doing. The reason they want to hire them is because they will be embarrassingly bad. Embarrassingly bad, and it will be exposed just how much money is being wasted just keeping this thing alive. This grotesque corpse of a national broadcaster alive. Well, it can't be a corpse and they're keeping it alive, right? this grotesque monstrosity alive. They don't want Canadians to know how much money it is costing to keep this monstrosity alive. That's the way to say it. All right. So, yeah. So, now, of course, this is a major problem for the United States. The United States really goes to bat for their tech companies. And here's Michael Geist. He's a professor in Canada. The Online Streaming Act in jeopardy. U.S. takes aim at the CUSMA cultural exemption with threats of Bill C-11 retaliation, March 20th, 2026. So this is another thing that's going to get in the way of us actually getting a good trade deal with the United States with the CUSMA review coming up. From the moment it was first introduced as Bill C-10, and then it became Bill C-11 after, in the fall of 2020, it was readily apparent that mandated payments by foreign streaming services to support Canadian content would face a trade backlash with the U.S., with the real prospect of trade retaliation. This is not wise. It's almost as if everything that the Liberals do is to damage us in crucial ways, to mortally injure the country. It's amazing. Weeks after the U.S. Trade Representative specifically identified Canadian digital laws as a target in Kuzma renegotiations, House Republicans introduced the Protecting American Streaming and Innovation Act, a bill that would mandate an investigation into the Canadian law and open the doors not only to trade retaliation, but also to a change in how the cultural exemption is applied. So is this really more important than steel, for instance? Is this more important than our sectoral tariffs? Is this more important than autos, the auto industry? Really? Like trying to extort money out of streaming services? I have to think this should be low, in any sane country, low on the list of priorities. But apparently not. The culmination of a steadily intensifying U.S. campaign that stretches back years. In July 2022, that was Biden, by the way, I flagged that the USTR had raised concerns about then Bill C-11 during a meeting with Canada's Trade Minister, a development the Canadian readout notably omitted because, you just lie to the game. If you're the Liberal Party, just lie. Nobody's going to call you on it. No big deal. If it ever gets reported, it's over really quickly, and then they never talk about it again. So it's a bipartisan issue in the States. It wouldn't have mattered if Kamala Harris was president. It's a bipartisan issue. Both sides of the aisle in the States hate this stuff, and it's a problem for them. This is how dysfunctional the Canadian government is. This is the stuff that they focus on. This is stuff they focus on. Online Streaming Act, right? And by the way, the real purpose of the Online Streaming Act is on social media to crowd out any independent media and force the social media companies to just flood the zone with infinite amounts of CBC and Global and CTV. That's the purpose of it. And we're already seeing the results of that now. It's always about control with the Liberal government or any radical progressive government. Let's not forget, the Liberal Party is not, your father's Liberal Party anymore. Justin Trudeau told us he turned it into a progressive party, and not just progressive, radically progressive. All right, let's, what else did we have here? Hold on. All right, so what could be some of the retaliation from the states for this? Let's see. The U.S. could hit Canada with retaliatory tariffs or suspend trade agreement benefits. Historically, this could mean imposing duties on Canadian goods, timber, or agricultural products, rather than a direct ban on Canadian entertainment content. So, this will hurt, forestry, agriculture. I get steel. Like, these things are much more important than trying to extort 15% from American streaming companies. This is insane and counterproductive. All right. All right. I think that's it. Let's move on from this one. So, yeah. Meanwhile, the CBC uses Canadian tax dollars to pay for lawyers to fight, revealing just how unpopular they are to a Canadian public that already knows how unpopular they are. That's Canada, folks. That's elbows up. All right. Let's get rid of that. Let's go back to the chat for a second. What are we, 2 hours in already? Jeez. What the hell happened? Let's move on. Let's see. Zombie companies are not alive. No, they're not. It's still moving, but it's not alive. Let's see. Rosie says, how is 15% measured? That's revenue. That's revenue. That's not like profits. That's revenue. Hours bought. Can they not just raise the price of Canadian content to make it be 15% of money? If it is purely time, what Canadian content reruns of Court of Gas or a bunch of woke crap is what it will be. And it's 15% of revenue in Canada. All right. So whatever the monthly fee is, that will just end up getting tacked on. So it's inflationary for Canadian consumers, obviously, right? Yeah. So they're trying to force, again, I'm not a fan of, this central planning of trying to force things onto Canada. A big part of it is that, of course, everything made here has to kind of have that, be guided by the Liberal Party narrative, right? That's how you get funded. So it's a way of just continuing the, ideological capture of the people, or deepening the ideological capture of the Canadian people. Keep them voting Liberal. Elbows broken, as he says. True. Let's see. What do we got here? All right. So Mark Carney, net zero. Hold on a second. Oh, before I start this one, I might need to make another coffee. All right. You know what? We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to put the music on. I'm going to leave it on the golf lady. Or maybe I'll come up with a different one. Let's see. Well, that's a nice one there, actually. This is a good one. This is a good one. I like this one. Let's keep going. This is a different golf one. Let's go with the football one. There we go. Yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm just going to make some more. I got to make myself some more coffee if we're going to keep going, folks. It looks like it's another long one tonight. Another long one. Give me a few minutes.
in the booth. Biggie vibes, give me the loot. I'm a classy millionaire. Bitches ain't got the couth. COUTH, cause you can't.
Why did the music turn on there? I didn't even know this had music, this thing. Yikes. All right. So now what are we doing? Let's turn off the first. I'll turn off the sound on there. Yikes. There we go. Hello. Let's see what's going on. What are you guys talking about? More coffee. Yes, definitely more coffee. How about a coffee ad? Izzy asked. Could use a good buzz. Should we do it? Coffee. Ranch juice. Should we do a coffee ad? Why not? Let's find out what's going on. Let's see. Is it worth it for me, though, to do a coffee ad? Actually, there's not even anything available right now. So, no, can't do one anyway. So, I guess we'll have to wait. Maybe later. All right. All right. All right. So let's get to the next story, shall we? So if anybody still had any questions regarding Mark Carney's priorities, let me start over. If anybody still had any questions regarding Mark Carney's priorities, this should lay them to rest here, this clip. Let's take a look. This was posted by Mackenzie Gray. And here is Mark Carney talking at the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade.
Now, as you may have heard, we're also advancing discussions on a potential pipeline to transport at least 1 million barrels a day of low-emission Alberta crude to Asian markets. The pipeline will only advance. Thank you. There we go. I'd like to welcome the Pathways to this. The pipeline will only be advanced with the following prerequisites being met. The first is the building of Pathways, renamed the Oil Sands Alliance. This is the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project. It will make Alberta oil amongst the lowest carbon intensity per barrel produced. In other words, on a Scope 1, Scope 2 basis. Secondly, it requires that British Columbians should share substantial economic and financial benefits from projects that include or impact them.
So there you have it, right? First on the list. He's made it very clear what his priorities are, right? So here, Mark Carney makes it perfectly clear. Net zero finance comes first. Next, Canadians. Actually, hold it. Actually, that's not quite true. So first, it's net zero finance. Then it's, 400,000 permanent residents a year plus 365,000 TFWs and foreign students. That's 765,000 people this year. So they come next. Any complaint from Indigenous groups, that comes next. Activist judges using liberal legislation to plague Canada with anarcho-tyranny and infinite crime. The immigrants and refugees that those same judges give the lightest possible sentences to so as to not affect their immigration status. Obviously Brookfield. Obviously Brookfield comes before Canadians, whose headquarters Carney moved to New York for tax reasons, by the way. And then maybe Canadians. I feel like I'm missing a lot of stuff here before we get to Canadians. A lot of stuff. But yeah, look, the mask is completely off now, I think. To me, I can see it, obviously, right? Mark Carney is about net zero finance. Now, carbon capture is a big one with them, right? The Pathways, that's carbon capture. Carbon capture is the Pathways project in the oil sands. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a look into it. Let's see. Fed signed $200 million carbon contract for Calgary-based Entropy. Canada Growth Fund invests in company that developed new CCS technology. And this is all public money, by the way. So It's a crown corporation funded by the government, taxpayers. A Calgary carbon capture company has signed a first-of-its-kind carbon offtake agreement with the federal government, a significant milestone that some say could help unlock future private sector investments in decarbonization projects. And yeah, I mean, it's got to happen in Canada because literally nobody else gives a shit about this stuff. So the federal Liberal government announced Wednesday that it has signed a deal with Entropy Inc., a privately owned company that has developed a unique modular carbon capture, utilization, and storage technology. The agreement will see the Federal Canada Growth Fund, which is making a $200 million direct investment in Entropy, also provide the company with a large-scale, long-term, fixed-price carbon credit offtake framework. It's all climate finance, all that stuff that Brookfield's so invested in. In fact, Brookfield's so invested in this stuff that it's actually even invested in the company that's doing it, Entropy, the one we were just talking about. Entropy Inc. announces $300 million investment agreement with Brookfield Renewable. People starting to get it yet? People starting to figure this out yet? Canada Growth Fund is a $15 billion public investment vehicle designed to attract private capital and accelerate Canada's transition to a net zero economy. It de-risks large-scale clean technology, critical mineral, and energy projects, helping Canadian businesses scale up. De-risking means that the taxpayer pays for it. So it de-risks it for the company, right? So you're paying for all of this. Canadians are paying for all of this. When he talked, what did he say here?
Day of low emission Alberta crude. Heard, we're also advancing discussions on a potential pipeline to transport at least 1 million barrels a day of low emission Alberta crude to Asian markets. The pipeline will only advance. Thank you. There we go. I'd like to welcome the Pathways to this. The pipeline will only be advanced with the following prerequisites being met. The first is the building of Pathways, renamed the Oil Sands Alliance. This is the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project. It will make Alberta oil amongst the lowest intensity, carbon intensity.
None of that means anything. Like, that's totally irrelevant. Nobody cares about this stuff. EU, Asia, they are buying as much non-net zero oil and gas from the States or Russia or anywhere else they can get it as they can get their hands on. All of this is meaningless, all right? There is no benefit to Canada here. It doesn't make us more competitive. Obviously, we're hearing from industry, which is telling us, no, this makes you much, much less competitive. In fact, so competitive that nobody's even rushing in to be a proponent for the pipeline itself because the Canadian government isn't making it worth it. They'd rather take their money south, where it's just easy, where they actually want the business. I want to show you something, to show you how idiotic all of this is. And hold on one second. Everybody can start your PhD theses right now while I look for this. 1 second. It won't be too long. It'll only be hours. That's all it will be. Let's see. Hold on. I've got something here. I know I've got something. I think this is it here. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. All right, hold on. I got to do this. It's going to take a couple of seconds, guy, but it's worth it though. Okay, guys. Okay, we should have it just in a second, you guys. Hold on. I did some research on this earlier, but I couldn't find the stuff that I had done. Let's see. All right, the project would reduce Alberta oil sands operations. The project, this is, so for the Alberta, so just for the Alberta Pathways project, okay? The project would reduce Alberta oil sands operational emissions by roughly 12 to 17% initially. So 12 to 17%. Now, Canada itself, the entire country is responsible for less than 2% of world CO2 emissions, right? Fossil fuel emissions. So just the Alberta part, this one project in Alberta, it would reduce emissions by 12 to 17%. Now, if the entire country of Canada everybody woke up tomorrow and it was just forest, there were no cities, there was nothing, it's like it never been settled, okay? That would not affect global climate one bit. So what is this hoping to achieve exactly? Hold on a second. Here we go. So, Alberta oil sands production emissions represent 0.13 to 0.2% of global emissions. Even the full 22 reduction from megaton reduction from pathways would be 0.04 to 0.06 of global emissions. So, in other words, nothing. This does nothing. Right? It's completely and utterly pointless. Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. This was important. If all pathway-style projects expanded to cover most or all oil sands facilities, optimistic, blah, 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 it would still be under 0.1% of global totals. 0.1% of global totals. And there's one more thing I wanted to add here. Hold on, you guys. Sorry about this. Not very professional of me. Start your working on your epic poetry. Hold on, I'm almost there. We're almost there. Okay, if you want to know just how pointless all of this is, if all planned carbon capture and storage projects worldwide went ahead successfully, they would reduce global emissions by roughly 0.8 to 1% annually around 2030. That's everything around the world. And of course, they're not all going to go ahead. A lot of it is just window dressing. It's just virtue signaling. It's just saying, oh yeah, we're going to do something eventually. Something like, just like the Paris Accords, right? Doesn't mean anything. So if everything around the world went ahead, 1% of global emissions down to 0.8%. Likely not even 1%. That's how pointless this is. So when he talks, when he gets very kind of stoic and somber, he's talking about it very seriously. None of it means anything.
The pipeline will only advance. Thank you. There we go. I'd like to welcome the Pathways to this. The pipeline will only be advanced with the following prerequisites being met. The first is the building and pathways, renamed the Oil Sands Alliance. This is the world's largest carbon capture, utilization, and storage project.
And it means nothing. All of this is for nothing. This is not going to change global climate. It cannot. It's impossible. It can't. Again, if every single project planned around the world went through by 2030, all right, it would likely not even be 1% of global emissions. Like, it's nothing. He's very serious here. He's acting like it's a big deal. This is really important. It means literally nothing. It is totally irrelevant. So if it's not to change the global climate, and I assume he knows that, what is it for? Well, it's for climate finance, obviously. Mark Carney was the UN envoy for climate finance. This is what he's been working on. This is why he has the ESG fund with Brookfield. Okay, he's been setting up this financial framework, okay, that was falling apart. His net zero banking alliance, the purpose of which was to try and force energy companies into doing all of the net zero business stuff. Right? That had fallen apart. By the time he became prime minister, that had fallen apart. Okay, so why did he want to become prime minister? It's not to save the planet, obviously, right? None of this is going to have any effect on global climate, right? It's to save the net zero business that he's been setting up. Carbon capture, carbon credits. It's about money, folks. That's what it's about. And he's lying. He's just lying. And there can be literally nothing else that this is. I don't believe for a second he thinks any of this is going to change the climate. As for the pipeline, he knows that's not going to happen, right? The pathways, the carbon taxes, the carbon pricing, companies are not interested any longer in dealing with any of that. BC should get substantial economic and financial benefits. This is all stuff that's going to make companies, including Canadian energy companies, just say, as they have been already, just say, we're going to spend our money down south. Way easier down there. We can make a profit. Indigenous consultations, you might as well forget about it, right? That has to happen, he says, as well as economic benefits and potential ownership. These are all things that are going to drive away business, right? It's just gotten old at this point. It's just gotten old. He's already got his Pathways project with the existing oil sands project. So, another one, it doesn't really matter, right? He's got his carbon pricing septupled in Alberta. Now he's happy with that. He knows this pipeline's not going to go ahead. Nobody's going to come forward to do it. And he's perfectly, and even if they did, let's see, BC and the indigenous consultations would make sure it never happened anyway. So didn't he give a speech in Davos? Something about living a lie? Something about living a lie? I seem to remember something about that. How ironic. All right. I mean, it's not like this stuff is even hidden. Like, how long did it take me to find? This is just one thing. This is just one thing that he's involved in. Entropy. It took me 5 minutes to find this. Brookfield, entropy, there's your connection. There's your conflict of interest. Where's the media on this? I mean, they're actually publishing stories on it and not connecting the dots. Let's see. What the heck is this? Found at Richie's Ranch Juice Machine. What the heck is that? I have no idea what's going on there. Let's see. Rosie says, stupid statistics. Canada is net zero. There are more trees than all the vehicles combined. Well, that's an excellent point, actually. But you don't make money from that, right? Let's see. sorry, Mark Carney doesn't make money from that. Sorry. Need to be clear on that. Why are these videos stopping? Keep going. Going video. Let's see. He's following the Club of Rome's agenda, Dame Pam says. Dame Pam says to him, King Charles comes first and then Brookfield followed by China. No, it's Brookfield first. Climate finance first. Charles is just his pal, you know. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says Canada will do something stupid like 15% of gross revenue. Yeah, that's what it is. You're talking about the Online Streaming Act? That's what it is. Let's see. Time to start a tax revolt, Trudeau Survivor says. Oh, now we're getting followed by CSIS for sure. Let's see. No coffee ad. They didn't have one for me. Maybe I should start paying Rumble to feed me a coffee ad? No. Stop it. Trudeau Survivor says, WTF is low emission or decarbonized oil. What the fuck is low emission or decarbonized oil? Makes zero effing sense. It's a sales pitch. Like, obviously, it's ridiculous, right? The oil that you're shipping out is the same oil, right? It's just a sales pitch. The whole thing's a scam, right? It's a way to see carbon capture, all of this stuff. It's not productive, right? So it's not profitable. It can only exist with subsidies. So Mark Carney is maxing out the national credit card to pour subsidies into this stuff. Izzy says it will mean paying more for the oil because of numbers in a spreadsheet. Mark Carney tells us it'll make it more competitive. That making it more expensive makes it more competitive because he's an economic genius. The media is likely heavily invested in Brookfield. I tell you what, if they were smart, they would be. They're doing great. Let's see. Dame Pam says the king started Club of Rome, and this is where climate change came about, hence net zero. I will have to look into that at some point. All right. What do we got? Brian Lilly posted this. So Mark Carney, even though he obviously has no intention of actually seeing a pipeline to the North BC coast happen from Alberta, I mean, it's obvious at this point that clearly there's poison pills intentionally to keep that from happening. His liberal caucus, the Liberal Party, his liberal MPs are not that bright, and they're obviously totally opposed to Canada making money. So, because don't you know the world's going to end, right? Greta told us, I think she gave us another 5 years, right? Another 5 years. I guess she hasn't been paying attention to what the IPCC has been saying lately, which is that the world definitely has more than 5 years. And the apocalypse is definitely not coming. But in any case, whether or not they really believe it, that a pipeline to the West Coast, another pipeline to the West Coast is a fatal threat a mortal threat to the world climate or something. And it's just bringing on the apocalypse. It'll be here next week. Whether or not they believe that or they're just doing it for their constituents, I don't know. But apparently they've penned a letter to Mark Carney raising concerns about the environmental backslide that is not even happening, right? Like obviously the pipeline is not going to happen. But in any case, 14 Liberal MPs write a letter critical of Carney, and this is from Brian Lilly. CBC gets it and writes this. Despite signing their names at the bottom of the letter, the MPs do not want to be publicly identified, CBC writes. No names released. This would not happen to Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative Party leader. No, it would not happen. But the CBC knows They know where their money's coming from. They know who their meal ticket is, and it's Mark Carney, and it's the Liberal Party of Canada. So, I mean, it's just endless. It's just endless. It's embarrassing. The reason that Canada's in the mess that it's in, the reason that this guy is prime minister is because of the media. It's the stinking elephant in the room every time anybody talks about Canadian politics in the mainstream media. It never comes up because they know their part in wrecking this country and getting people like this elected. They like to pretend that it's because like Pierre Poilievre's mean, right? And everybody hates Pierre Poilievre because he's mean and he's divisive. I mean, who ever heard of an opposition leader being divisive? Crazy. Normally, all they do is praise the party in power. Let's see. We already covered that. All right. What do we got here? So what's this? Gender ideology tab. Jennifer Say posted this. And you know what? I think this is a good time, actually, to cut off the YouTube portion of the stream. So I think we're going to do that because there's just too much. The copyright system over on YouTube is totally broken, and it ends up just being a pain in the ass with all these ridiculous claims. So we can't do the whole stream. This is the part of the stream here I think it's the best time to stop. So let's end the stream on YouTube. We're going to continue on Rumble. So if you're on Rumble, stay tuned. We're going to continue on for YouTube. It's over for tonight. We got 2 hours and 35 minutes in on YouTube, so that's pretty good. We'll hopefully see you on Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Goodbye, YouTube. There we go. It's just us. There's no stall.